30 years, the General Wine Company, international wine shippers, has been sourcing brilliant wines and spirits from around the world and delivering them right to your door. Whether you are a wine lover, restaurant, hotel, or having a party or corporate event, the General Wine Company has the experience, highest level of excellent customer service, and the range to offer you something special, whatever the budget or occasion. www.thegeneralwine.co.uk.
Good morning and welcome to Winescape TV. I, as always, am your host, Ditch Oakley, and we're very excited and pleased and honoured to have with us Niel from the Bellingham Wine Estates from the Franschhoek Valley in South Africa. Now, welcome to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, we've got to be a little bit gentle with Niel today because, of course, he's literally just come straight from the airport, fresh off a flight from South Africa, so we're going to treat him very, very gently and sort of nurture him in. But obviously wanted to get an opportunity because we've got these, have these lovely wines that our sponsors at the General Wine Company supply, and I wanted to get a little bit more of if you could, a history of Bellingham and sort of where it all came from and sort of when since you joined, anything like that, really.
Yeah, for sure. Bellingham is the third oldest estate at this stage in South Africa. We were founded in 1693, so with any big brand like that, it's actually got a rich history. I mean, we were the first ones to make Shiraz in South Africa, first ones to do a dry white wine where everybody was still drinking semi-sweets, first to do a rosé, so a rich history, and also part of our philosophy then being innovation and trying to be new at things first, so to do all the daring type of things, and that's why we've got ranges as well for everybody, anything from entry level all the way up to the connoisseur.
Because I mean, you're quite a bit of a maverick, aren't you, within the industry?
I wouldn't say I'm the maverick. I think I'm trying to represent the maverick, the Bernard Podlashuk, the previous owner. But yeah, all the weird, wacky, wonderful things does tend to go through my hands. I mean, it's part of my way of doing a wine. I don't call myself a winemaker. I call myself rather a fermentation controller. So, because you're really just setting the conditions right and let nature does its job. But you need to make sure what the conditions are and then applying them constantly and trying to keep life simple. I mean, it's a good product that we've got. But you don't want to overcomplicate things. No,
sure. I mean, with the sort of the state of where we are currently in the sort of the South African wine industry, is it easy to be an innovator, sort of to try new things?
It's easy to be an innovator. I think South Africa, really, our borders opened only in the late 90s. So we've still got the whole world as a oyster. Even though we've been making wine for 350 years, we've only really started learning how to make wine, I think, with the last 25 years. I mean, it's one thing doing the same thing for 300 years over and over because you haven't got a customer to actually give the wine to taste. Now suddenly the borders are open, we can export to wherever we want to, and we start getting feedback, and responding to that feedback, you really start fine-tuning the product. I think sometimes we're too innovative and we bring varieties to the market that nobody has ever heard of. And just because we think it's a good variety, it doesn't necessarily mean that other people is also going to think that. So and that's why I'm here. I mean, to support products like, for instance, the Viognier or Roussanne or Grenache Blanc. I believe in the I believe in the products. I believe they've got a sound home in South Africa, and it's about giving something extra, not just being another Sauvignon Blanc or another Chardonnay on the market.
Yeah, I think, as I say, the market is really saturated with that. I mean, seems to go in trends, sort of back in sort of the 80s, 90s. Chardonnay from Australia was the big thing, and then Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. It's started to peter out. So some of the more exciting things, like the new Viogniers and these pressings you have here, there is a severe hunger, a thirst, should I say, for them, which is great. And I know that our sponsors, the General Wine Company, had their 30th anniversary annual Petersville Wine Festival last Saturday, which we attended. It was a great day, and your wines sort of took up a whole table, and so these new wines have certainly hit the mark and were very, very, very popular with all the people coming around, so looking for something a little bit more interesting and different. But in terms of sort of you just sort of talked about opening up markets, how important has the UK market been for you guys? Has that been sort of a focus, or has that, because you've got Europe as well?
No, for sure, we've got Europe. The UK market has always been a very strong focus. It's always been the first market for us to enter. I think also one of the easier markets initially to enter because of no language barriers, a rich history between South Africa and the UK. So it will stay a very important market. Still, most of South African producers, the largest portion of their exports will be coming to the UK. We are definitely looking at other parts as well of the world, and we've classified, or us as a company has classified it now as a maintenance market, where we know there's not going to be huge growth, but we need to maintain every single listing that we've got and still grow the business. There's obviously some great opportunities in the Far East and America and Canada as well, where we need to start looking at exploiting those type of opportunities and see where we can grow the business in future. But the UK will always be the number one market for DGB, or the holding company of Bellingham. We've opened up our own offices here a couple of years ago, and that on its own tells you, we haven't got any offices in other parts of the world, that we need to service this market and do it extremely well. And the best way we can do it is by having our own people on the ground, people from our own payroll to come and wander around to make sure everything happens the way it should.
So can sort of DGB, sort of, I guess it's called DGB Europe, I mean, can they use the office here in the UK as a satellite to then sort of exploit other markets in Europe and beyond?
They'll be able to. Part of our strategy is to employ key people in certain markets. So we've got a person, for instance, in Russia, we've got a person in Holland, a person in Germany, but they then work very closely with importers and distributors, whereas here we've got our own importing and distribution company that we've set up, which is slightly different. And yes, you'll be able to use it as a satellite company, I'm sure. That's definitely not my call. My call is to put the right quality at the right price in the bottle.
Absolutely.
So, and that's my focus. But yeah, there's endless opportunities.
Excellent. Now, of course, while you're over in sort of the northern hemisphere, you're taking a sort of position, a stand, shall I say, at the London International Wine Fair. Is that still, because there's been a lot of negative press regarding that wine, particularly wine fair, against things like Pro Wine in Düsseldorf? Is it still important for you guys? Do you think something you'll continue to support?
It is very important, and we need to support it. Purely for the reasons that I've just told you, the UK being an important market. There has been maybe bad press, or it's always been compared to Provine. Provine has been growing in the last couple of years. I think it's easier sometimes for Provine customers or customers to get to Provine. It's maybe even a little bit cheaper. But yes, so we've been doing the Wine Trade Fair for the last 10 years. I've seen a slight decline in people exhibiting. But for us it is very important, and that's why us as winemakers come over, is to support the sales staff that we've got on the ground here, and to actually come and see what happens in the marketplace. That's why I'm on a little whirlwind tour of the UK. Last night in Scotland, today here, tomorrow in Bristol, and then off again to the Netherlands. But just to try and get a feel for what has happened since the last time I've been here, which would have been end of November.
Sure.
So, and there's always changes.
So you'll get some sleep sometime in August.
Sometime between August and September, we normally get sleep.
Excellent stuff. Can I sort of any sort of developments happening? Because I understand maybe sort of you not stopping. I understand the Dragon's Lair, which has been a real winner over in this country. But sort of any innovations, any sort of new sort of developments at your end?
There is. Like I said, the brand has been around since 1693, so you constantly need to reinvent yourself. I think one of the most exciting things for us now is we're going to be launching another wine within the Bernard range. So our premium end, we're definitely growing, and there's a lot of experimentation taking place there. The Grenache Blanc Viognier is one of the new wines. A wine called Triple M, which has hopefully hit the shelves at some point in October. It's a blend between Mourvedre, Merlot and Malbec.
Interesting.
So I don't know of any Triple M's out there. I think we'll be the first ones.
That's maverick thinking. That's putting those three together.
A little bit of out the box, definitely. Absolutely amazing wine. The Malbec gives you that pastel fruit flavors. You get the chunky, fleshy tannins of Merlot, and then the Mourvedre's got that powdery tannins that just coats the inside of your mouth. And the combination of those three is just like mouth-watering.
Fantastic.
That works. And then we'll be working quite hard on our entry level as well to make sure that it always delivers and over-delivers for the certain price points. So it's a Chenin Blanc Viognier blend. I'm playing around with a Shiraz Cab blend as well, just to have something easy drinkable, and accessibility is never negotiable. You need to have chunky, friendly tannins, otherwise as soon as the mouth starts twinning up, you've lost the customer. So yeah, there's quite a bit of innovation still happening, and will continue happening.
Is that you seeing that more sort of within the sort of South African sort of wine regions, or are you sort of really just leading from the forefront here?
I think we're leading when it comes to the Mediterranean varieties. I don't want to group them just as Rhone varieties, because we do play around with Sangiovese and Tanat and those type of varieties as well. So we do move. Verdelho looks very exciting. I think this year we harvested 28 different varieties at our cellar. So
that's substantial.
That is substantial. But it gives us good information, on the varieties and how they suit our climatical conditions as well. I won't say global warming anymore, because the other day in Denmark I was told it might get colder there. So for political reasons, call it climate change. We need to keep our eyes on things like climate change. And varieties like Roussanne and Viognier, the more the Mediterranean varieties, do tend to work quite well in certain areas of South Africa. And the best way to check that is by third-party endorsement. So competitions won, trophies won at certain international awards. And the strange varieties, or the Roussannes, the Grenache Blancs, the Shiraz Mourvedre Viognier blends, all of those that we've been doing in the Bernard range has been reaping the awards. So I'm sure we are on the right track and doing the right thing.
Absolutely. With all those varieties that you're growing, and it must be great fun to having sort of all lined up and sort of doing doing blending, playing around, finding sort of interesting little.
It is great fun. I mean, it's one of those things that you actually lock yourself in the cellar for a couple of days.
I bet you
get a sleeping bag and just figure out what to do next. Like I said, it's not always easy, I think, to sell it, and it's most of the times it's a hand sell. But that's why it's important to have the right people on the ground again to actually buy into the concept and hand sell it all the way through to the final consumer. But yeah, it's amazing to actually see that face of the consumer when they pick up a glass of Viognier and you say, listen, there's maybe some rose petals in there, and they actually pick up the flavors. Because that's the thing with Mediterranean varieties. All the flavors are there. You just need to be able to pinpoint them and enhance them. And part of our philosophy, or my philosophy more at Bellingham, is never to overpower wine with wood. So if you were to look at that picture, for instance, I use wood the same way a framer would use that. The frame is there for structure and support, and that's the way I use wood, giving structure and support. I don't want you to look at the picture and say, that's a beautiful frame. I mean, then I've overplayed my hand, I've wasted the grapes, I've wasted the grower's time, I've wasted the viticulturist's time. So yeah, and the Mediterranean varieties, and just even varieties like Chenin Blanc, one of my favorite varieties to work with, actually just benefits from having this nurturing oak embracement, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also, certainly what we're seeing in this country is that people are, you're always going to have the people that drink the cheap plonk from supermarkets and things like that, and that's the way of it. But I think people are not just getting a little bit more sort of educated, but they're expanding their taste. They want to try something new. And yes, you mentioned there's a certain amount of hand selling that has to be done, from the ground up. But it is quite encouraging that people are actually interested in trying something new and actually sort of thinking a little bit, actually it's cliche of thinking outside the box, but just trying to find, sort of new interesting things. Also as sort of food and wine matching, is becoming more and more sort of significant. On that subject, I've got to ask you, what was your last magical food and wine matching moment?
Sure.
And it probably happens every day for you. But
no, it hasn't. If you want to consider airplane food as magical.
Coming down from Scotland, no. A deep fried from Mars bar and a can of iron brew.
Matching shot. It would have had to be a risotto. Yeah, it was a risotto with truffle oil. It's actually quite simple, but risotto, truffle oil, and I had it with Grenache Blanc Viognier. Grenache Blanc Viognier has got a lovely acidity and also texture. There's some form of tannins in the Grenache, especially the white Grenache, and it just cut through the richness of the risotto. So simple, like I said, try and keep it simple. Don't like more than 3 or 4 ingredients. So maybe I have a grandmother that's Italian, I'm not sure. But yeah, the simpler the better. And these wines are all very food friendly, but Grenache Blanc definitely the pick of the week for me, or for the last wine dinner that I had. I'm off to Hastings tonight to host another wine dinner, so I'm not sure what to expect there on the menu. It might change tomorrow.
Fingers crossed,
pop around and come and tell you about magical tastings that we've had there. So it always changes.
Absolutely, that sounds very, very exciting. Now, I've got to ask you, because I've got you here in front of me, if you were, just for some extraordinary reason, to be abandoned on a desert island, what would be your wine or other drink, doesn't really matter, of choice? What would be your ideal desert island bottle? You have one bottle left. What would it be, and who would you drink it with, and why?
Who would I drink it with? Well, I would definitely not drink it with my wife. For the reason that...
People rarely do.
I wouldn't... No. I would definitely have my wife there, but I wouldn't drink it with my wife because she would like and drink so much more than I would. So if that were to be my last bottle of wine, she would be more desperate than I would be to finish it. I think because if it's my last, it's her last as well. So it would definitely be Chenin as a variety.
Excellent.
I would say the Bernard range Chenin. It's just a magical wine. I mean, it's so honest. So to have that as the last wine, I think would really work. And I've had some reviews where they pick up some coconut flavours, so hopefully it's a tropical island that we're on.
I think it would be a bit unfortunate to send you on out to Hebrides off the Scottish coast.
We'll be able to make some form of a pina colada with Chenin infused Bernard style. I mean,
Excellent.
Innovation would definitely not stop if we're actually on an island. So.
And would there be a last meal to go with this Chenin, or?
Well, it depends on what's there.
Well, just imagine there's a magical chef that just suddenly pops
I
up.
definitely think some shellfish, yeah.
Shellfish, okay.
Some shellfish or some sheer tuna.
Yeah.
So can
Clean,
definitely work.
fresh.
Yeah, no, it can definitely work.
Sounds ideal. That's brilliant. Well, I think it would be great, fantastic if we could we're going to try and one or two of the wines. That would be marvellous. But for now, I'm going to say thank you very much to Niel for joining us, and we're going to crack open some bottles, rustle the cage a little bit, and pour some wine in some glasses, and we'll be back with you very shortly.
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Pleasure.
For 30 years, the General Wine Company, International Wine Shippers, has been sourcing brilliant wines and spirits from around the world and delivering them right to your door. Whether you're a wine lover, restaurant, hotel, or having a party or corporate event, the General Wine Company has the experience, highest levels of excellent customer service, and the range to offer you something special, whatever the budget or occasion. www.thegeneralwine.co.uk.
Right, well, welcome back, and we are here, of course, with Niel from the Bellingham Vineyards from the Franschhoek Valley in South Africa, and we've obviously had a lovely little chat to him, a bit of the history and sort of the innovation that's happening sort of currently down there, that he's no doubt obviously, of course, responsible for, which is great news. It's the kind of people we need, Niels. But what I'm going to ask is, you mentioned just before we had a little break there about this old vine Chenin Blanc being potentially the one which you'd have on your desert island last wine choice, and you'd also mentioned your wife wouldn't be having any of it, well, because you'd probably drink most of it. But talk us through it, because as I say, this is slightly new, because you've now launched the Bernard series, haven't you?
Yeah, we've had the Bernard series now for a while in the UK, and it works extremely well. This is the original wine in the Bernard range. A lovely old 44-year-old vineyard in the Bottleray Hills in Stellenbosch. So, and what makes this wine magical is that it really gives you the opportunity as a South African winemaker to work with older vineyards. If you look at areas like Tokai in Hungary, they say life starts at 40. So, I mean, those vineyards, I don't know what they do up till 40. Obviously, they've got deep pockets. We need to do normally something with the grapes. But what's magical here is that these Chenin vineyards are disease resistant, so you don't find the leaf roll virus at all in Chenin, and this then being the only variety that can really show you the true potential of age and how wines age or vines age in the vineyard. So you've got low yield concentrated flavors, and then, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm more of a fermentation controller. So this is a wild fermentation that takes place, just setting the parameters, making sure the temperature is right, that the yeast that is grown on the grapes are happy. And I'm fermenting it then in oak, so 50% new, 50% second full French oak barrels, and various sizes depending on the vintage. And I'll change that sometimes quite on short notice. If we've got a cool vintage, then you'll rather go with larger, bigger barrels, so say 600 litres or even up to 900 litre casks. And then if it's again a warmer vintage, I would drop it down and bring a portion of 300 litres in. It's all about oak contact and how much oak the wine can really handle without giving or what you want is the structure and the support of the oak. But yeah, in cool vintage you don't need as much.
Marvellous. Well, let's have it's got a glorious colour on it, but let's have a... I think I may have found my desert island wine on that one. No, that is absolutely delicious.
Leave my wife alone.
That is absolutely delicious, isn't it?
No, it is beautiful.
So you can just get a little hint of the oak, adding a little bit of structure, which is very interesting going with the Chenin, isn't it?
And there's layers and layers of fruit, and that's the amazing thing with Chenin. It's considered a noble variety where it actually gives you secondary and tertiary flavours, and that's not. I don't say that. That's Chances Robertson in her book. She mentioned Chenin then being as these noble capabilities. So this is a 2009 vintage, and you can also see. Sometimes they have difficulty spotting 2009, but it actually is written out there,
which I love. That's a really nice touch. I've never seen that before. So that's
and it's all part of I've started off saying weird, wacky, and wonderful. So we even take it through to the packaging to get the consumer to wonder. But even if it comes with the age, the 2009 vintage, then definitely one of the cooler vintages South Africa's had. You can also pick up some hints of botrytis there. So, and that's just...
It's a little bit of honey there, isn't it? Just a little something going on.
Secondary flavours, definitely the honey and the straw-like flavours starting to develop. At home, I'm currently still drinking 2006, so it's just one of those...
How's that sort of developed over the years?
It's still got the firm acidity, but it's a coated acidity, so it's beautiful for a white wine from South Africa to actually say, listen, the wine is 6 years old and it's still very drinkable. So it's, and then the honey notes and the straw-like notes have just multiplied, but still none of the flesh is falling off the bones, which is amazing. The wine is still intact. Obviously, sealed in Stelvin, that definitely helps. So preventing some earlier oxidation. And it's a very honest wine.
That is absolutely fantastic. I think I'm going to have to go and find myself some seafood or some fish to enjoy with it. Now that bottle has been cracked open, I think it's only fair to give it its full justice that it deserves. But for now, I've got to say thank you so very, very much for joining us and for putting up with this barrage of questions when you've literally just got off a plane. But these wines are, of course, available from the General Wine Company, our wonderful, lovely sponsors, so feel free to check it out. But from this moment, I'm going to say thank you very, very much indeed. So it's lovely to see you, and hopefully we'll catch up with you at the London International Wine Fair, because we'll be going up there and chatting to some various producers as well. So we'll definitely come over, say hi, and maybe sort of bring a little something special with us for that occasion. Neil, thank you very much indeed. This has been Winescape TV. I am your host, Ditch Oakley, and we will be seeing you very, very soon.